What's up everybody? Cloud here with a Biomutant tutorial, and today we're going to be going over character creation. This game has a 5-step character creation process, and while it's not too difficult to wrap your head around, a lot of the information and details of the character creator itself aren't explained or documented anywhere. So I think a lot of the confusion with the character creator in this game comes from the fact that the order in which you actually create your character and edit and modify their stats is a lot different than most other character creators. So typically in a character creator, you're going to modify all of your vanity attributes first, and then you'll go with your primary attributes, and then your secondary attributes will kind of either be dispersed depending on what you selected on your primary attributes, or you'll have a few points to crank into your secondary attributes. In Biomutant, you actually modify your primary attributes during your second phase and your secondary attributes during the breed phase, the first phase. And then thirdly, you'll have your resistances phase, which lets you modify your resistances to the environment around you. And then fourthly, you have your vanity phase, which is strictly just fur and fur color. And lastly is your class phase, which lets you decide which class you'll play throughout the course of the game. And this will really just determine your perks that you unlock throughout the course of the game. So the first thing that I want to point out is something that's causing a lot of confusion on the forums, at least on Steam anyways, and that's the red and the green bars on the right whenever you're selecting your breed. Just as a generalization, anytime you see red and green bars in this character creator, it's going to be a before and after representation of where those stats are going to be. So with that in mind, in this example, I have a primal selected, and then immediately I go down to Dumbdawn to look at the stats on Dumbdawn. Well, you can see that the melee damage goes up on the green bar, meaning that it's higher than it was for the primal, and the energy regen turns into a red bar. That means it's lower than it was for a primal. So as you're selecting your breed, be sure to keep this in mind. It gets a lot less confusing whenever you get to the other phases, because it's just a before and after of if you select this, it'll be here. If you select this, it'll be there. Right here, it's causing a lot of people a lot of confusion. They don't know what they're looking at, so keep that in mind. As far as the breeds themselves are concerned, each one has a strength and a weakness as far as secondary attributes are concerned. So the primal is going to have a higher critical chance, but its melee damage is going to be a little bit lower, while the Dumbdawn is going to have much higher melee damage, but its energy regen is going to be a lot lower. The Rex has higher health, but lower melee damage, and the Hyla has the highest starting health and a slight boost to armor, but it kind of lacks as far as starting damage output is concerned. The Fip can be considered physically weak, but it has the highest key energy and energy regen. The Murgle is going to have average stats across the board, but it has the highest barter and loot chance, and it's also going to have an elevated crit also. So none of these breeds are really going to back you into a wall as far as play style, but it's really going to help to know what each one does better or worse in the early game. And the next step is our mutation phase. Now, this mutation phase is where it starts to get a little bit tricky and complicated. If you look at the wheel, you can kind of see that it goes in a 360 degrees, obviously a circle, and then you have from clockwise strength, agility, intellect, charisma, and vitality. Now, the interesting thing about this is that you have to push this needle towards a certain side to get a certain attribute, to increase a certain attribute. So if you push it all the way up to strength, you're gonna have 100 strength. If you get this thing all the way up there to strength. But this is also gonna decrease all the other stats. Now you have 140 stat points to play with. Each one has a maximum of 100 and a minimum of 10. So if you see on this radial wheel that I've put up, if you go kind of in the middle of strength and vitality, you're going to give yourself 55 vitality, 55 strength, and then 10 for each agility, intellect, and charisma. In this example, I've got a Rex here, and I really want to increase the Rex's strength a little bit higher because I know it's going to have a little higher health and armor than the average character. So I want to go ahead and crank it up to strength a little bit, but I don't want to push it so far towards strength and vitality that I'm decreasing the intellect, agility, and charisma also. And you have to keep in mind that you're going to be able to slam 10 points into each one of these major attributes for every level up that you get. My general advice is to build out something that you're comfortable looking at. If you're min-maxing, you're going to get some pretty ugly looking characters sometimes. If you go all the way to strength, you're going to have like a really long nose. If you go all the way to charisma, you're going to have like a really fat head. So go with something that you're comfortable looking at, because the level up system makes putting skill points into these particular attributes really easy. The next few screens are largely preference, so I really don't want to dive too deeply into them. The most important one, I guess, would be the elemental resistances, but this is purely, again, just preference. If you want to be resistant to fire, pick fire. If you want to be resistant to ice, pick ice. It's completely up to you. The fur color, the fur pattern, again, that's completely up to you. You want it purple, you want it brown, that's your decision. And other than modifying the appearance for yourself and a couple other characters, it's largely not going to change the way the game plays out for you. And finally, we have the class selection screen. Now with the class, much like the breed, it's not really going to back you into a wall as far as your playstyle is concerned. This is largely just preference. Each class is going to have a certain weapon skill set unlocked, such as the Saboteur and the Mercenary are going to have dual-wielded weapons unlocked, the Commando is going to have rifles unlocked, the Deadeye is going to have the gun skills unlocked. There are also class-specific perks, so it might be a good idea to look into those perks and see which perks are better for your playstyle and which ones are worse for your playstyle, but a lot of this is just kind of playing through the game and figuring out what does what. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll try to reply and answer as best as I can. As always, if you like the content that I'm putting out, be sure to like and subscribe. I hope you all have a great day.